Nick, did you know about this? He never told me this. I don't recall him ever mentioning it to me either. Even I didn't know that. It seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets. I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. Wait, that's not right. You know how sometimes things just slip your mind. Ah, my 6th cup of coffee is staring up at me coldly.
At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please correct your testimony.
Been killed if I hadn't been wearing my Mask the Mask costume.
Hold it!
Why were you dressed up as Mask the Mask? Why? Because I'm Mask the Mask, of course.
What are you talking about? Master Mask's trial is being held next door.
Ah, yes, I guess so. Anyway, at that time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the Mask the Mask issue. So I thought I should go as him, just to be safe. Oh boy. Let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why it took a lot longer than I'd expected. Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? What do you mean by took a lot longer? Oh, opening the safe, of course. My cape got caught on the safe door, you see. This all happened when I was hiding Mr. Bullard's body.
What was that? Back up a second!
Yes?
You were the one that hid the body in the safe?
Well, yeah.
Inconceivable! Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking?
Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine?
What?
The answer is simple. When they take them off.
As usual, I have no idea what you're saying.
Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer? So you're not as stupid as you look! Oh wait, that's... oh, whatever. This metaphor this time is really obscure.
Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you?
Oh, well, yes.
Why am I the only one on the loop here? Witness, make sure you add this to the testimony.
Yes, sir. Uh-oh. Looks like a storm front is moving over the fair-weather judge. I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes. Wait a second. There's something about this. It just doesn't seem right. Objection! Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record?
And what might this be?
The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office is pressed, a security team is supposed to come running. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once at 1:02 a.m.
What?
If Mr. Ron Delight was truly the murderer, he would have ran as soon as that buzzer sounded. After all, a security guard would have been heading his way.
Objection!
Let's remember who we're dealing with here. He probably had no idea there was security personnel in the building. Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as the chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about them.
Objection!
But, as it turns out, the guard never came. That was nothing more than a coincidence. The fact that the guard was a pathetic loser who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend and wasn't anywhere in the vicinity was something Mr. Delight could not have known.
Objection!
Again, remember who we're dealing with here. It's a sure bet that Mr. Delight didn't even notice the buzzer going off.
Objection!
This buzzer is extremely loud. There is no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is.
Conscious? What do you mean by that?
Fine, let's hear your theory. Remember the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes.
Unconscious? So he fainted?
That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body. So what are you trying to say? Mr. Delight was knocked out, and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever it was knocked out Ron Delight and then pressed the buzzer.
Order of the court, Mr. Wright, this is...
Objection!
This is preposterous. It was this kid. Ron Delight is the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then who pressed the buzzer? It was the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have held on long enough to push that button.
So Kane Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright?
I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene, but how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? I can prove it all right. The defense's opinion is this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. And that would be the buzzer itself. Take that! I believe this is the piece of incontrovertible evidence you were looking for.
The emergency buzzer? Is there some kind of clue on it?
Absolutely not. Hey, come on now. At least give some thought to what you say before opening your mouth. The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue!
No, I'm the one who's clueless.
This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself, naturally he would have left his fingerprints behind!
Objection!
Ron Delight obviously wiped them off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button, I know he did. The defendant, Mr. Delight, was dressed as Master Mask. And Master Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have had to wipe the button free of fingerprints?
Order!
It would seem. I've been forced to eat crow. I wonder what blood number crow-flavored coffee is.
However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden?
It looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks. They're on to you, Nick! Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed Mr. Bullard at around 1 a.m. And Mr. Delight just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place, right? The killer clobbered Mr. Delight and then sounded the buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away if the buzzer was pressed. Security was supposed to respond?
Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say.
Very well, then.
You've got some guts. I like that in an opponent.
Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer?
The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted.
Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose?
Yes. Although, as it turned out, he never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time.
What a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in?
No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron Delight, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer.
Hypothetically, yes.
Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the room would be the victim and Ron Delight. And if any security guards came running in at that time, they would think that I was the murderer. Yes, that was precisely what the killer's objective was. To frame Ron Delight for the murder! Well then.
Order!
It would seem. I've been made to eat my own words once again.
Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I'm the one and only Master. Nick, you mean the real killer is... We're going to drag that person in here right now. But who is it? I don't have any solid proof yet, but think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. So, the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard.
Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Ron Delight for the murder of Kane Bullard?
Take that! Detective Luke Atme. He's the only one who could have done it.
Ace Detective.
Luke Atme?
You mean Master Mask did it?
Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next to us is not Masked Mask at all. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Kane Bullard!
Order! Mr. Wright, explain yourself.
Theft and murder. Which is the more serious crime?
They're not even close. Murder is the more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject to a capital punishment.
Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you will. When Luke Atme confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom.
Of course, a famous detective was unmasked as, well, as Master Mask.
Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along.
To be found guilty?
Master Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Master Mask was Luke Atme's airtight, watertight, and unassailable alibi.
A guilty verdict as an alibi?
You know, it's almost time.
For what?
For Luke Atme's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial, after all. If we're going to stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now. Of course. That's assuming you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder.
Mr. Luke Atme's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would be left with no grounds for appeal.
Am I really sure about this?
A bet's only good when your life's the ante.
Mr. Wright, I believe in you. Mr. Delight. So, please. Begging you! Thanks, but my decision will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this? Phoenix. What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust. That voice, it sounds like... Mia. Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess.
So that's your answer, huh?
Very well. I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Luke Atme to the stand.
Yes, Your Honor. In the next courtroom over.
Well, Sir Detective Atme. I have to say, Mr. Vane, you performed splendidly. Oh no, Sir Detective Atme, you were the one who...
That's enough! This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant, Luke Atme.
Oh, looks like we were just in time. Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please!
Well, well, Sir Lawyer, welcome to my courtroom.
Who's this hoser, eh?
My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law. And I wish to file an accusation against this man, Luke Atme.
Accusation? You accuse Master Mask?
That man is not Master Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer.
What?
And we fade out and try Luke Atme for murder next time. See ya then.